Hi everyone. So today we have another interview with an author, and today Mike Shackle, the author behind The Lost War, one of my favorite ongoing series, is here.
You have to say that.
Oh, come on, of course. I've said it a lot of times on this channel.
I'm very grateful.
Yeah, and this this interview is sponsored again, just like last time with Jeremy Zal, by The Broken Binding, a very incredible indie shop. If you're looking for signed books, including The Last War, you should check out their shop. And
It is in fact the only place in the world at the moment you can get signed copies of my books.
Oh, really?
Yes, that's how exclusive they are. It's the only place.
That's nice.
So it's, what I love about them, while we're plugging them, is that Matt, who runs it, he loves books.
Yeah.
And it's just coming from that, and you can just tell his enthusiasm for the stories that he's selling, and I think he's doing an amazing job.
Yeah, and it's still a niche shop, and I think he's already doing a great job on this.
Yeah, very good. Buy your books from Matt at Broken Binding. That's what I say.
Yeah, definitely check out The Broken Binding, guys. And so today we have Mike Shackle, and please, Mike, can you introduce yourself and about your books?
Yeah, I'm Mike Shackle, obviously. I'm the author of The Last War trilogy, of which book one, We Are the Dead, is out, and book two, A Fool's Hope.
Oh, nice.
Came out at the end of the year. They're basically about what happens when the bad guy wins. We're used to these stories where, the big evil wants to conquer the good guys and they valiantly get fought off and everything else like that. And I just really thought it'd be interesting to see what happens after, Sauron conquers Middle Earth or whatever it is. The idea is, the bad guys have won, all the heroes are dead. What are you going to do about it? And it's just about ordinary people being put in these really awful situations. And there's a coward, a teenage terrorist, an injured general who thought he was God's gift to warfare and found out that he wasn't, and then a single mother, and just they're in an occupied land, and we see how they deal with it all.
Yeah, I personally really love The Last War. I mean, you know about it, and I think one of the things that really make this series is really good is that.
Yep.
In my opinion, is that the characters, as you said, are just ordinary people. They're trying to survive after their invasion, after they're being invaded. And these characters, so a lot of them are quite unlikable at first, especially especially Tinstra and Dren in the first book can be very testing on our patience. And do you ever worry about people not liking this? I mean, it's good though, because although we all love to read about heroes and stuff like that and bravery, but if we ever encounter a bad situation like these characters, I mean, we probably would act like them, right?
Yeah, I think that, there are a couple of things set me off down that course. One was there was stuff happening in real life that I didn't agree with, and I felt that the bad guys had won. There's stuff going on in the UK that I didn't agree with, and I was looking around for the heroes that were going to come and save us. Because I'd grown up, you read any type of fantasy, you expect Aragon to turn up or Logan Nine Fingers, and in real life they're not there. And when you go through the terrible wars that have happened in the world, it's ordinary people that get thrown up into those situations that have to deal with it. And from them, heroes are found. And when I first started writing We Are the Dead, Tinstra was your typical wisecracking hero. She was supposed to be like that, and she just refused to do whatever I told her to do. And the story just wasn't working. And I realized it's because I wasn't writing a real person. I was writing this stereotype of a hero. And then I thought about what I would be like
mm,
in that
mm,
situation, and as much as we all believe that we would be charging in there with our swords and
yeah.
and maybe Miles Cameron could do that. I don't know. He's a bit handier with a sword than me. But I've got this terrible fear that I'd just be hiding in the cupboard,
Yeah, that's true.
just hoping that it all passed me by. And then I thought, putting a coward into a war story
Mm,
actually makes it a lot more interesting. And I don't worry about people whether they're going to like the characters. I want them to be interested enough in them to go on the journey and see where they're going to go. Dren is a horrible person at the beginning. He's sending people off to be suicide bombers
yeah.
and doesn't care about it, and he blows up a marketplace full of people because he's just full of anger and all this sort of stuff. But his journey over the two books so far, he really does go from one extreme to the other.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's true. That's true.
and he's a favorite. But I love all my characters
Mm.
in their own way. Even Darius, the bad guy
Oh dear God.
psychopath, is but he's incredibly great. He's so much fun to write.
Oh really?
He really is, because he's just so awful. But again,
So mean.
so Darius, he's one of the chosen, the bad guys. They're sort of super powered enforcers,
Oh
and again, I thought, what would be the nicest power any human being could have?
yeah. Mm.
So his is he can heal any wound, any injury, any illness. He can make them better,
Yeah.
which is just a really lovely power, but he uses it to torture people. He'll torture them to the brink of death, heal them, make them feel great.
so horrible. So
Yeah.
horrible.
So, but yeah.
Yeah, but I really loved it, and I remember in the first book. I don't think this is a spoiler. It was Tinsra trying to find a bread, and when she got it, I was like, oh my God, finally. It's just a piece of bread, and it really works for the story.
Yeah, well, that was actually the very first scene I wrote where I got her right, and I felt I had it. There was that scene when she's trying to buy a loaf of bread,
Ah,
and then the whole early part was the last thing that was written, like the kind of invasion
oh really?
at the start of the book. Yeah.
So would you the last war, in my opinion, is very action packed, but the characterizations are there. You made sure that they're always there, in my opinion. And do you ever plan this, or it all just comes from your characters? I mean, from it seems like from.
No, I do. I mean, and I'm not very good at it, and I'm getting better. Things will happen that take me by surprise. There's a character that turns up in the second book that I literally didn't know he was going to be there until Tinstra turned a corner and bumped into him.
Yeah, I know who I
You
know
know
which
who I
character
mean.
you meant.
And I literally didn't know they were going to be there. Which was a wonderful surprise. But when you've got books with 6 or 7 characters where stories are intertwining and different places and times and things like that, you have to plan it, otherwise you just go crazy. In many ways, because every character's got to have their own arc and go on their own journey, and it feels at times you're writing 6 interconnected books.
How complicated is that?
It's tough. It's tough. I keep joking. My next series after this will be one point of view, maybe 2. Yeah. Just saw myself going insane.
And the last war, let's talk about setting. I think the setting in We Are the Dead and Fool's Hope, it's very, very ancient Japanese. At least in my mind. In my mind, it actually it felt very Japanese. Is that always the intention?
Yeah, I mean, I lived in Asia for most of my adult life. yeah, so there's a lot of Chinese culture in it, and Japanese culture in it, and one of the groups is definitely Japanese in inspiration, and I'd say the other one is probably more Chinese
Uh,
in inspiration. And in fact, um, a lot of the names for the like the main country is the Mandarin word for home. And
uh,
I use that. Actually, one reviewer recently spotted where I'd stolen all these names from Japanese and Chinese
oh, really?
things like that, which I was quite impressed at. So yeah, the influence is there. I mean, it's basically a mashup of World War II
Hmm.
occupied France with
Ah,
samurai.
yeah, very cool.
The skulls, the eagle soldiers are definitely, they wear samurai armor with samurai type masks and swing katanas around.
It's very cool.
Except I had to
I
call
love
them
it so much.
scimitars but yeah, no, very much. I think I've, one of the first books that really um, fired up my imagination when I was younger was Shogun by
Shogun
James Clavell.
novel. Mm.
And then that set me on this kind of interest in all things Asia. And then when I was about 23, I moved out to Hong Kong, and I've lived in Beijing and Singapore and
Wow.
traveled all around the region and stuff.
Wow.
So
You have lived in Singapore
yeah, 9 years. 9 years I was in
9
Singapore.
years.
Yeah, I like it's an amazing place. I love it to death.
Ah, oh
Yeah,
man.
it's really funny. You could tell how long I lived there by how much chili I put on my food. Because when no, that's an in joke now, because like you get it, but when I first moved there, I didn't like spicy food at all,
Yeah,
and then by the time I left, I was just covering everything in
in spice,
chili,
right?
and yeah, adding it.
Yeah, that always happens.
Yeah.
Oh
And
man.
where I live in Canada, in Vancouver, there are lots of great Asian restaurants around
Mm.
here, and I have to keep asking them to add a bit more heat into the food and things like that for me.
Are the food there as spicy as it is in Singapore? Yeah, for
No,
the
it's very good here, but it's not as spicy
ah.
unless you have a chat, and then they'll sort it out for you. No, but I love Asia, and I find all the cultures amazing. And to I lived in Beijing, and to go walking the Great Wall, and just what a feat of engineering and willpower,
Yeah,
to build down.
Beijing. I haven't been to Beijing.
Yeah,
I really want.
it's amazing.
Mm. And earlier you mentioned reviews, right? And
Yes.
sorry. uh, I'm sure there are reviews that have like lifted your mood up, and I'm sure there are those that have really bring you down. Uh, do you check them like every day, or yeah? Do you ever check? Do you check them every day? I'm
Yeah,
curious
no,
about
I
this.
mean, well, first of all, I just want to say, anyone who writes a review, good or bad, I thank you from the bottom of my heart for doing that, because it makes all the difference. And for someone to take the time to actually write something, we're all busy, we've all got a million things to
Yeah.
do. I appreciate it, good or bad. I've been really lucky that most of the reviews, the vast majority of the reviews, have been amazing, and that takes me a bit by surprise, because I think when you write these books, and particularly with the second one, because you've sold this trilogy,
Yeah.
and you're working on the second one, and there's this little niggle at the back of your mind going, was that a one-off? Am I really any good?
Yeah.
Are people going to like this? All the doubt that I think, for me, I think it pushes me on, because I have to try and be the best I can be. It's there, and then you see a review that someone's written, and they've just got what you're trying to do, and it just lifts you on those hard days, the dark days, and push you forward, and that's fantastic. And I submitted A Fool's Hope to Galance, and I really thought my editor was going to ring me up and go, "What have you written? Like, what have you Like what?
What
What
have
have you
you
done?
done? What have you
Yeah,
done?
no, you know, and then there's just this silence for a couple of weeks while they're reading it, and then they're like, "Yeah, we really love it," and I was like, "No, seriously, tell me it's I can take it. Tell me that's no, it's good."
Yeah.
So the good reviews have been amazing. The bad ones, there are a couple of things that kind of there's a twist in We Are the Dead, and it's the most obvious twist in the world because it's supposed to be
Yeah.
right. And Tinstra is, you know, she's a coward,
Yeah.
and something is done that allows her to move forward with a bit more confidence.
Yeah.
A few people have written going, "Oh, you know, what bad! I saw that coming a mile away. You know, wow, terrible." And it's like, yes, but you're supposed to. It's the fact that she didn't, and she just grabbed onto it literally. You
Yeah.
know, because she's so desperate, she'll believe the most blatant lie. You know, that you get a bit frustrated at. And then someone the other day went into a very long, very detailed criticism of the book. And a lot of it was about the way refugees were treated in the book and things like that. And they were very upset by the way characters were talking about them. And I totally get that. And it was like, but again, that was the point, right? It was supposed to make you feel that way.
Yeah.
And then, but they were questioning whether it was my personal opinion. I was,
Oh, come
you
on.
know, you know, and you're like, no, the characters. They, you know, it's like I'm not a psychopath. I don't torture people. You know, this isn't my idea of fun. It's just, you know, but people are, you know, but that those kind of stuff kind of make you laugh more than anything else. But I love everyone who writes review, and thank you very much to everyone, particularly if you make it a good one. But it's actually, I'll tell you this story. So I work in advertising during the day, and I was in this really boring meeting, and I sort of got my phone out, as you do, and I got an email from my editor, and he'd got a blurb from Glenn Cook, the author of The Black Company.
Oh, nice.
And he said, "I had to send this to you. This is amazing." And I'm in this really boring meeting with no one who knows anything about books, and I'm reading this thing where he's, you know, one of my heroes is saying this is one of the best books I've ever read. You know, it's the next Game of Thrones. It's this, it's that, and I start grinning. So you know, it was really serious. Me like, "You're right. Why are you looking so happy?" And the worst thing was that no one knew who Glenn Cook is, right? No one knew. I didn't have my people around me to go, look. But that's, you know, and then, you know, amazing people like Peter McLean saying great things about the book. You know, just makes a huge difference because I think they're all amazing authors.
Yeah, Peter McLean's books are really good too.
Oh, I love them. I can't wait for the next one.
Yeah. And I really love the cover art of your books. It's done by Thomas Almeida, right? And you also did a lot of sketches, a lot of artworks. Do you have input on the cover art, or is it all just Gollancz and Thomas?
Glance are fantastic because they do share stuff with me and they value my opinion, and they don't have to do that. You know, authors don't really have much say in these things because publishers know how to sell books, but they've been great. But you know, I work as a creative director, you know, in advertising, so I spend my life looking at things and offering opinions on things. And I'll often say to Brendan, look, if I'm being a pain, you know, tell me I'm being a pain. But yeah, no, they've been amazing, and they do a fantastic job. I mean, they're great. I mean, I like to draw, but I'm not an artist. You know, it's just something I do as a creative outlet, really, to kind of switch my mind off.
I think your sketches are good though. The one that you sent with this, the one that you
Oh,
sent,
it arrived at it.
yeah.
Oh, good.
Hold on, I'm going to show it. I think it's in here too. See this one, right?
Yeah, no, I like that one. I did about 3 or 4 that I sent out to people, and there was one I really liked, and I didn't take a picture of it, and I think it's that one. I'll tell you what I have got. Look,
oh, nice.
if you want to know what my next book is after the last War trilogy,
is that one?
It's this chap, yeah.
Oh, nice! I cannot wait, and the series isn't even finished yet.
Yeah, no, but things like that I do, and again, because I don't want the stories to distract me, I can draw that character, and it gets out of my system for a bit, and I can concentrate on what I'm supposed to write on. So yeah.
Yeah. Which author do you think? Well, would you consider as your biggest inspiration as a writer?
There are several. I had to dig this up, but
Peter Vibret?
Peter Brett's Painted Man, and look, this is so well read. It's in pieces. I mean, I've had this a long time, and I got a nice copy of it as well. But it's because I grew up reading fantasy and sci-fi, and I stopped when I got a bit older, and I was reading a lot of crime and thrillers and things like that. And I was walking through this bookshop in Singapore, and I saw the cover.
That one?
Saw this cover on the shelf, saw this book, and I don't know why I picked it up, but I did, and I flipped through it, and I bought it, and I took it home and read it in a couple of days. It was just amazing, and it was like the perfect book someone had ever written for me. And that then led me into Joe Abercrombie.
Nice.
You know, and I think those two are probably the ones I love most, and I get very excited about their books when they come out. And from there I got into Scott Lynch and you know, Brent Weeks and all that kind of stuff, and that really got me thinking about writing myself, just because I was just so in love with what they're all doing. And then there's this guy as well, David Gemmell.
That's David Gemmell is the one that I haven't read. I have read only his Troy trilogy. Yeah, I've read only his Troy trilogy, but like Legend and all that, I haven't read them yet.
Again, I love them. I think some of them quite dated, and when you've read a few of them, he has a formula. You know, there's the swordsman, the big guy, maybe with an axe, maybe with a hammer. You know, and it's the same 3 characters going through adventures, but they're very readable and very good fun.
It is interesting. I really didn't think that The Wounded Man by Peter Vibret will be one of your inspiration. I mean, I do see Abercrombie's in your actions and stuff, but I don't see Peter Vibret because it's a very different book than your books.
But again, I think they're just really great adventures, you know. And I've met him quite a few times. He's such a lovely guy, and I just, his books just excite me, you know. So it's good.
Yeah.
I mean, I think you got to read lots and lots, and you get inspiration from
many
different people here and there. Yeah, you know, I still love my Lee Child thrillers, and you know, my Ian Rankin crime books and things like that as well.
I think it's really cool. And other than authors, who's your favorite artist?
Favorite artist? All right. Well, I dug these up.
Yeah.
But so this is a book called Ronin by Frank Miller.
Oh yeah.
Who's famous for
300, right? Is that him?
Well, he did 300.
Yeah.
And The Dark Knight Returns and things like that. And that book's called Ronin, and it's about a masterless samurai that gets sucked into the future and has to fight a demon. And I read that book when it probably came out when I was about 14 or 15.
Wow.
And I love the artwork in it, you know. And again, it's a lot of Japanese samurai
Mm-hmm.
inspired stuff, a lot of French science fiction influences in it. But that to me is just like the perfect comic book.
Yeah.
And then there's this other chap here, which I know you're a fan of as well.
Oh, you got it.
Yeah,
Great.
yeah, this guy is amazing, and
Amazing artist. Amazing.
everyone should look him up online. I mean, he's, I mean, as art, I'd love what he does, and just his storytelling in his images.
His his
I love.
artwork is the one that appears in my head when I'm reading your books.
Well, yeah, I mean, I have said that if he, you know, if I ever did a cartoon of it, you know,
Yeah.
this
See?
this 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 is the guy that should be animating it. I mean,
Totally.
yeah, but I mean, I only discovered him probably towards the end of writing the second book, so he's not been an influence. But
Oh.
again, I just love these things where you discover things. And it's like, yes, that's the inside of my brain.
Yeah.
You
Even
know, if I was drawing pictures,
coincidence,
that
but
is the
still
inside of my brain.
nice.
But I think his work's amazing. But yeah, I mean, Hellboy, Mike Mignola. I'm a huge comic book fan. I mean, when I was a kid, I wanted to be a comic book artist more than a writer to start off with. But I can draw okay, but I can't draw enough to earn a living from it.
And things change.
No, it's really funny. When I was about 12, I wrote a story about a character called the Ultra Warrior, and it was about this guy, suit of armor, goes off shooting ray guns at people and things like that. My English teacher at the time published it in the school magazine,
Oh yeah.
and all these parents were complaining about this ultra violence that this 12-year-old had written, and I wish I had a copy of it. But that was my first published story, The Ultra Warrior. But again, he was great because he just said it's a great story, and he didn't care if people liked it or not. It was just he just liked the fact he had this kid who had an imagination and wanted to write about these things.
Yeah. Well, that's really a cool story. And when can we, for the last question, when can we expect the last book?
The last book. I'm finishing it as we speak. I'm in the last phase. I'm really late in delivering it. And again, it's this last. Everyone knows. I don't think there's an author I've spoken to that's got through the last year in a normal way. All your routines that you have and things like that go out the window when everyone's around each other 24 hours a day. And I struggled a bit, particularly last summer, just mentally. My world's quite a dark place to go into.
Yeah.
And it was very difficult to mentally get into that when it felt like the real world around me was just as dark, and you're worrying about everyone and being safe. So I lost a bit of time on that, but it's going to be out in April 22 next year.
22. Next year. Yeah.
And it's called Until the Last.
Oh, nice. Until the last war.
Well, or until the last breath, until the last shulker.
Wait, what does that
mean? Whatever you want to read into it. I mean, it's exciting. It's you've got these characters that they've been around with me for the last 5 years. And
5 years.
Well, yeah. I mean, I started writing November 16th. November 2016. So yeah, it's 5 years, and I'm very close to them and everything else, and the journeys they've been on. Tinstra, from a coward who's running away from the.
I really love her development. And it's really good and well realized, in my opinion.
It's really funny because Broken Binding was doing this character pair off. Who would win in a fight against someone else, and Tinstra was paired up against Bloody Anne from Prince of Bones.
Oh no!
Right, which and the thing is, if it was a tinster from the beginning of We Are the Dead,
Yeah.
or even the end of We Are the Dead, she's gonna die, right? There's no way she was.
There's no way she's gonna win against Bloody Anne.
But seriously, by the end of A Fool's Hope,
Yeah,
you know,
that's a
Tinstra
different
can
situation. That's a different situation.
she can literally take on anyone and not worry about it. I was like, be over in minutes. And then the other one that's been paired off is Dren is against Thomas Piety.
Dren Thomas. Ah, okay.
So again, for Priest of Bones.
Those are a really good match.
I know, but there's no way Dren. I wouldn't even vote for Dren in that. There's no way. Yeah. The only way Dren would win is if he crept up behind him, rolled a bomb under his chair, and then ran away. You know, there's just no way. I think I said that to someone on Twitter. They're like, oh, I'd really love to read that. It's like, well, it wouldn't be that great. It'd just be, here's the bomb. And
Dren against
what happens,
yeah.
But, no, it's good. But again, Broken Binding, buy your books from them. They're amazing.
Yeah. They're amazing books, amazing bookstore. And Matt is a really nice guy.
Yeah, very good.
Yeah. Well,
I'm glad that book arrived with you as well.
Sorry?
It got you quick. I'm glad the book arrived with you.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it got there quickly.
The book delivery right now are really crazy. It's so unpredictable right now. This one probably takes 3 months. Is this 3 months?
No, about 2 weeks, I think.
2 weeks?
I think so. Yeah.
I thought it's much longer.
Oh, no, I don't think so. It might have been 2 months. I don't know. I can't remember.
I'm really thankful for this. Thank you so much. It's really
good.
Maybe one day there will be an illustrated edition. Maybe.
Well, I was joking with Matt that he should try and get Glance to do a limited edition.
Come on. That would
if that was the case, I'd personally draw in every single one.
That would be really cool, if they can do it. Well, thank you so much, Mike. This has been a really fun interview. And I want to say thank you to Mike and thank you to Matt from The Broken Binding. Please, once again, check out their bookstore. They will send a lot of great signed books.
Excellent. Thanks very much for having me. And I really enjoyed it as well.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Take care. All right. Bye.